Hello, it's Melinda from Scrapbooking and Craft, and welcome to our 4th week of our Halloween collab. I do apologise this video is a little late, but I have learnt that your laptop and your laptop charger need to be in the same house to edit videos. Let's just say my laptop charger went on a little walkabout. And you have to excuse my voice, it is spring here in Australia and hay fever season is in full pelt. So I'm using 2 of our big house cutouts and I wanted to make a spooky house. So I got 2 of our chipboard houses for the front and the back. You can also use these as tags, which is really cool. And I'm just playing around here with some cereal box cardboard to make the sides. So you can decide how wide you want your house. I decided to make it fairly skinny and followed the same size as the cardboard box because it already was cut to size and it had the foldy flaps on it. So just using hot glue to attach the pieces. And I'm just putting a piece in the middle. This is designed as a tea light candle holder, and I will in the next few days get a video up of it lit up with tea lights. I just haven't got around to that. Quite behind with my video editing, as I said. Charger and the laptop need to be in the one house to function. Stupid laptop. So just using hot glue. I didn't really follow a pattern for this. I'm a lot like that with the crafter. I just have an idea in my head and I start fiddling, and obviously that piece of cardboard was way too wide, so I had to cut it down. So I start fiddling and 9 times out of 10 it works out. The 1 time out of 10 I just keep pushing through and eventually we get to where we're going. So I had so much fun making this. I've been also so impressed with all the lovely projects everyone has made for the collab, and it's been fantastic, and I definitely want to do it again sometime next year. Let's get 2018 over with because it's been an interesting year. But certainly look out for some more next year, and loads of new products coming on our website and lots of fun stuff happening next year. So here I'm deciding what I'm doing. I do think a lot. I think a lot. Sort of testing out what I'm doing. So just using the other side. Cardboard cereal boxes and packet boxes are awesome to make things out of because they're nice and light, and sometimes you can use the hinges or the pre-folded pieces and it makes your life a lot easier. So just cutting that one down because obviously one side had a tower and one side didn't. This project probably took me 4 to 5 hours to make. I've cut this video down to about 25 minutes. There was a lot of drying time, as you see coming up. There was a lot of drying time. And I made this over about 5 or 6 days. So I'd do a step and then dry it and then come back the next day and do some more. So just fiddling around with where I want certain pieces to go. My idea was to have 1 tea light candle in the base, 1 in the big tower, and 1 on the side in the little tower. But as I said, I'll put a short video up of that in the next few days. October has certainly been a very busy month for us, and it is just zipped by. It is terrible. I can't believe it's nearly November, and then it'll be December. Wow, where did 2018 go? So still fully around with bits of cardboard. As I said, it's a lot of trial and error, trying to strengthen up the cardboard in the middle and cut off pieces. I definitely wanted the windows to be showing because I do have little battery tea light candles. I was envisaging this piece to be. So I hope everyone has a fantastic Halloween and makes some awesome projects. I have not made as much as I hoped to this year, but as I said, it's been a very busy month. I do most of my crafting in front of the television, so often I get distracted and will look up at the TV for a few minutes and my hands will stop moving and then I'll be like, oh, I forgot I'm filming a video. So just playing around with the top there, I wanted to put a piece the other side of that long turret, the long, I suppose, turret castle. You could also make this into a fairy castle. That would be really cool. Ooh, that might be my next project. That would be really, really cool. I love making 3D things. It's fantastic to see 2 pieces of flat chipboard start and a couple of bits of cardboard later, and you've got this amazing 3D house. Definitely whipping through the hot glue with this project. I've just got the hot glue gun sitting in a roll of tape there because I found if I lie my hot glue gun down, I've actually had one, excuse me, I've actually had one burst into flames on me, which was not good while I was crafting. So it is advised in the instructions that you keep it upright, and that's what I'm trying to do with this new hot glue gun, so it doesn't succumb to the same fate as the last one. Quite rough on my tools. So just trimming up, making sure the windows aren't blocked with cardboard, making sure the pieces are cut down to where I want them to be. And I do apologise if you can hear a bit of noise in the background. My washing machine is going. I thought it would finished, but it hasn't. So then I'm looking at it and going, what am I going to do? So I decided my house needed some texture. Now I've got this old jar of texture paste by Maries, M-A-R-I-E-S, and I picked it up for about $7 quite a few years ago at a cheapie store. And it was not good to start with, and it has started to go hard. So I decided this was an awesome project to use most of it up on, and I have now used that jar, thankfully. Because it was a stiffer texture paste, it sort of stood up really well, and I could get a lot of texture and detail. So basically wanting to just cover the cardboard with some texture paste. I grabbed that stencil as well. That stencil's for the front faces of the chipboard, but here I just wanted to give it a bit of a texture using a palette knife I got from Daiso. Daiso is a Japanese store in Australia that sells cheap stuff, or it's $2.80 per item, and this is almost like a I'll think of it in a minute, cake spatula, but it's actually in the paint aisle. It's got quite a long metal piece, and it's quite flexible, so you can get right into little crevices and corners. So here I'm just adding some extra texture paste to the side just to give it a bit of dimension. I wanted this to look really old and creepy, and I wanted it not to look like it had been constructed out of cardboard. It was so therapeutic sitting there. It was like spreading icing on a cake. It was awesome. I had so much fun putting this together, and obviously my hand stopped there, so I was being distracted by the TV. But this was just so much fun. I sort of basically coated every surface with texture paste. Possibly went a bit over the top, but I love how it turned out. And texture paste is great for adding, obviously, texture and form and character to different pieces. So I sort of worked in sections. So I worked on this side section, those 2 panels, and adding also to the side of the chipboard, because I basically wanted to hide all the chipboard so it just looked like a stone house. The texture paste actually added a lot of weight and a lot of stability to that thin cereal box chipboard, which was great as well. The chipboard that we sell and the 2 house die cuts are made from 1.8mm box board, so they're quite sturdy themselves. It's just the cereal box was a bit more, obviously thinner, a lot thinner, and a bit more flimsy, but adding quite a bit of this texture paste on it made it quite sturdy. So just getting every nook and cranny. I don't show you I don't think I'll show you exactly all of it. I think I'll show you 2 sides, because basically the front and the back are done exactly the same with the stencil, and the sides here are done the same as well. Just pushing all the texture paste into the different corners. This also helped to adhere the cardboard pieces together as well, because you sort of, it's like bricks and mortar. You have your brick pieces and you're throwing your mortar in between the pieces to make them stick. And I'm keeping it quite fluffy and puffy in some places, just to add that extra texture and making it look old and made of rocks. I do want to make something else like this. I enjoy the off the page, the 3D elements. Oh, excuse me, this hay fever needs to go away. I usually don't really huffer. I can't talk today, don't really suffer with hay fever, but this year, oh, the flowers are out in force. So you can dry texture piece with a heat tool, but because my layers were so thick, I decided to leave it overnight. So as I said, this was done over about 5 to 6 days and several hours. I found it was best to leave the texture paste overnight to dry, so I don't just dry the top with the heat tool and then have the bottom still moist. So now I'm using I love to use a gift card or a room key card from a hotel to apply texture paste. So I'm using one of our rock stencils. I believe this is our medium rock or medium stone stencil. Also, it's a good giraffe pattern as well. So scraping a good coating, and I scraped it on quite thick and just picking out the holes because I still wanted the holes to be visible. So this is quite thick on the chipboard pieces, and you can go quite thick because it does not warp at all, these hard pieces. And you almost can't tell where I moved the stencil and did some more texture paste. Just got to watch with the texture paste, you do need to clean your stencils pretty well straight away because it does dry like cement and that will actually ruin your stencil. But if you get ink or paint on them, you can let it set on, and you can see my stencil I think has got a green tinge to it, so it's got ink or paint from a different project on it. So just going around the sides and fixing them up, patting down the different areas. This texture paste was very thick and did stand up, and as you can see, I also texture pasted my hand. There's never a good project until you get your hands dirty. Who can agree with that? Oh, excuse me. I was out in the garden earlier today pulling weeds, and I think I've got pollen up my nose. Maybe next time I do my video first and then go pull the weeds. So just fixing up the sides, I did put quite a bit on the sides to, as I said a couple of times before, to make it look like old rocks and bricks and things. And I was just having so much fun, I just kept finding surfaces I wanted to add the texture paste to. And it was so easy with the flexible palette knife, I could get into so many different places, which was awesome. So that's the second side done. I'm not sure whether I filmed the other two sides. And then I decided that the inside of the cardboard that was showing needed a coat of texture paste as well, because I didn't know at that stage whether I was going to spray or gesso or what outside decoration I was going to do. And I find if I spray that, if not every surface has the same medium on it, the sprays react in a different way. So just giving a thin coat on the back there, I do end up using paint to paint over the entire piece. But as I go, I don't know what the next steps are going to be. So sometimes I do things that are totally pointless, because then the next step I go and add something to, and I didn't really need to do the first step, but I never know until I go along. So this is the other side where the cereal box is, just covering that with a layer of the texture paste again and putting some texture into it. I thought I actually cut out the second side, but I must have left it in. When I'm filming these videos, there's actually about 15 small videos I have to put together, so it's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, working out what goes first, and then often I'm doing the voiceover and I think I've got it right, and then all of a sudden it looks like we're going backwards because we either have something on and then we take something off, and it's quite funny doing video editing. And I'm sure anyone that puts up process videos would understand. So just drawing some texture with the palette knife into the texture paste, just to give it a bit of texture. As I was moving on with this project, I was thinking about what the end would look like, and I did want a fair bit of texture to be able to highlight different areas on the castle, or the haunted house. So this project doesn't actually have to be a tea light candle holder. You could have also made it into like a pencil holder or a just a decorative piece. It just depends on what you want to use the chipboard pieces for. These ones could be just flat tags, and you could decorate them as well with a witch on the front near a house. The chipboard is so versatile and can take so many mediums, you're basically only limited by your imagination. While we're just still applying texture paste, I'll just take an opportunity to thank everyone that's been in the Aussie collab. It has been fantastic and lots of fun. And with our chipboard, we also have a custom-made service as well. So if you see a particular shape on the website, but you think it's the wrong size or shape, contact us and let us know. The worst I can say back is, no, I can't make it. That's not said very often. I'm usually pretty flexible with what we do. The only thing we can't do is trademarked items. So, for example, I can't make a picture of Winnie the Pooh or Mickey Mouse because they get their knickers in a knot when I do that, and we can actually be sued. So we do stay clear of trademarked items. So just giving it a bit of a hot dry with the heat tool, and then I do leave it overnight because that is the best to do. So here I'm just doing the other front side. I probably should have cut these second repetitive sides out because it's basically the same. How much texture paste do you need to watch being applied to a piece of cardboard? But I thought I was going to go back and take it out, but I thought no, I'll leave it in and show people what the whole process looks like in case you want to follow along and make one. If you do make any of our projects with our chipboard, I'd love to see them on Facebook, or you can tag us at our business name, which is Scrapbooking and I'll go and have a look, or send us the link to your projects. I see a lot of raw projects go out my door, and I would love to see what you end up creating with them, because everyone is different. And I'm actually thinking of doing a collab. This year I sent out random pieces I just had a big box of leftover Halloween pieces, so I just split them up. But next year I'm thinking it would be interesting and a challenge to send everyone exactly the same pieces. And also let me know if you're an Aussie with a YouTube channel and you would like to be asked to join one of our collabs next year. Definitely let us know. We're probably not going to do the next one until January or February when life settles down, or even into March. But let me know by leaving a comment down below, and I'll make a note of your username and make a list of them, and then we'll rotate through. I think I'm going to sneeze again. Oh, I do apologise. I'm sorry. So yeah, definitely leave a comment below. I just ask that you have an active YouTube channel. It doesn't matter if you're just starting out with a YouTube channel and have a quite small channel. We take channels from all sizes. It's more about the fun than only only involving large channels. Everyone starts out as a small channel, so it's good to support the local ones. I especially love supporting Aussies because I would love, or people from Australia, because I'd love to build up a bigger community of Australian crafters. And then if you see a project, and that's the problem I see at the moment when I'm watching YouTube videos, I'm diversing off, aren't I? Is I see a project made in America and I can't source the materials to make them. So that's what our channel is all about, using our local materials, both my business channel, which is this channel, Scrapbooking and Craft, and my other private channel, which is my 10-year-old and I share, which is Alexis and Melinda's Art Space. Trying to do more Aussie projects, and then you're able to source the supplies locally. Now everything is dry. I've left it for 24 hours, and I decide that I want to make my spooky house black. So I grab out my Montmartre black gesso. I love Montmartre products because they're affordable and they are fairly good. Some people I've talked to don't like this gesso, some people do. So this is the black gesso. I could have gone with white and then with black, but the black you can just go straight over. So I've got a fairly old brush that I use for gesso, and I'm trying to really work it in and get all around. Oh, there's Alexis's hand coming to say hello. She's obviously pointing out I've missed a bit of white, because that's what Miss Alexis does. So trying to get into all the crevices to cover up the white, because I wanted it to be totally black. Now it does take 2 coats, because as you can imagine, the texture paste is multi-surfaced, and it does take a while to actually get around and in all the little nooks and crannies. I did have an idea I was going to use some of my sprays on this, but maybe I'll use my sprays next time on my next project. I decided to go with black, and then I add some silver highlights at the end. So I have sped this video up 3 times as fast. Obviously my hand does not work that fast. It would be good if it did, because it is quite an involved project and did take several hours to complete. But it's a labour of love, so I didn't mind. So I don't actually leave in all of the painting black because that got a bit boring. So these pieces here, these are some black card stock die cuts. I received this die and from the place overseas that we all love and don't really talk about anymore. If you don't know where that is, leave us a comment and I'll let you in on a little secret. So basically nice and affordable dies, and this is a fence and a gate die, and this come in the last day I was finishing the project, so I was hoping that they would arrive in time. And they did. So what I was doing there is just putting a bit of silver rub and buff on the gates, and I've also got some silver rub and buff there on my finger. And using my finger I'm able to catch and highlight the areas that are bumpy, or the raised areas, and then the flat areas can stay obviously black, and it gives it a really cool look. I do have some photos at the end, some close-up photos to show you lots of the detail, because I do understand it's a bit hard to see when the camera is zoomed this far out. But I find if I zoom it in too much more, you lose a lot of the detail, especially with this large project. We'll lose a lot of the area. And there's Alexis's hand popping in to say hello again. So I did find rubbing over all this texture paste, which was quite rough, got quite hard on my finger, so I do interchange to a couple of different fingers. The rub and buff is an expensive product here in Australia, and the problem I have is it dries out. So I am looking for an alternative metal rubbing on project, which there are quite several on the market at the moment, which I will swap to, because I do believe this rub and buff I did unfortunately had to throw away because it did dry out. So just turning around, wanting more silver in some places than others. Try to highlight the textured pieces on the side as well, and the textured stencil on the front, just to give it a different look. So I decided to give the pieces a bit of hairspray. The rub and buff is, obviously you rub it on and you can actually rub it off again. So I just use the hairspray basically as a sealer to seal in the rub and buff so it doesn't actually come off on my hands again when I'm using the product, and that's just a cheap hairspray. I've had it for several years and it just keeps going and going and going. The hairspray is great for pastels and different things like that, and I also like it over the rub and buff as well. So now just grabbing the hot glue gun again and gluing on the fences. These are a bit tricky to get on. In some places I could glue underneath, like at the bottom, and sort of stick them in, and in some places I had to actually add glue to the individual lines on the die cut, which got a bit tricky. Just got to be careful when using the hot glue gun. You can burn your fingers, and I have done that several times. I don't think my fingers feel a lot of the hot glue anymore because I've burnt them so many times. So I just wanted to add fences, and this just fences to the different places, and it just absolutely perfectly, it just added to the creepiness, and it just finished the project off. Sometimes I get to the 90% done the project and go, oh, it needs something, I don't know what it needs, and I could have went and cut little fences on my laser machine out of the chipboard, but I did want something that looked like it was old and sort of decaying, and some of them don't sit straight, which is fine, and some of them sort of bulge out, which you'd expect on a really old castle. So that was sort of the look I was going for. If I did use chipboard ones, they would have been a lot more sturdy and not the look I was going for. So even though I make and sell a lot of the chipboard, I do like die cuts for different reasons as well, depending on what project I'm working on. So that's my project just about to end. Thank you very much if you stuck to the end of me sneezing and snuffling. Silly hay fever season. Bring on summer when all the flowers have gone away again, please. So I'll leave you now with the still photos at the end, just finishing off the last couple of fence pieces there, and I will catch up with you again when we do our next project. Looking at doing another collab, as I said, early next year or mid next year, but between then and now I will show you some more projects. Bye for now.